Pastor Roy Gerhard from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. Good leadership is so important because great leaders really bring benefit and blessing on so many people, and bad leadership will bring destruction likewise on so many people. Leaders are important in that because they affect more than themselves. They, more than most, affect other people by how they live, by how they lead, and by the end results that they produce in their lives. And so whenever we see a leader fail, we see many of our hopes and dreams fail with them. But what is it that defines failure for a leader? What defines success? If we answer that, we answer a lot about what we're really looking for in a leader. And I gotta say, the standards can be all over the map. In worldly terms, often we're looking for leaders that we can measure their success on whether or not they produce financial success. A leader in a company is going to be rated on whether or not they bring financial growth and development to that company, whether it's profitable or not to its investors. Sometimes, though, we'll ignore how that leader may use and abuse the employees of that company. And that can equal a huge fail in their life and a huge fail for the company. But if you're only interested in winning financially, then you might ignore all of that. When we're looking for leaders in the church, we're looking for spiritual leaders, not people who's going to be measured on financial success or achievement. But wait, do we? Very often, I got to say, we actually measure success of leadership in church based on, do the offerings improve? Are we financially solvent? Are we increasing in the number of people in attendance? Have we expanded and cared for our facilities properly? And those, come on, you got to be honest, those are often the standards that we will measure to. And there are times that people will sacrifice other moral, ethical, and definitely sacrifice spiritual success in order to achieve success in those areas. King Saul is the first king of Israel. We've been looking at his beginnings in 1 Samuel this week. And we see in him a leader who is called to be the king of God's people. Saul gets himself into trouble because he frequently forgets that to be the leader of God's people, you must follow God, because your number one job is to lead the people in a way that lets them follow after God, that leads them to follow God as a whole. And so that if you don't do that, then you are going to be a massive failure. And that is where Saul is a massive failure. He sacrifices following God in order to achieve success in other ways in his life. We see this in the 13th chapter when Saul was beginning to engage the Philistines in battle. They were encamped and getting ready to meet, and Saul was waiting for Samuel to come and to bless them, to give them final instructions and set them off into this battle with any direction that God had for them. But Saul became impatient. The people were scared. They were beginning to falter, and some were beginning to desert. So he fell into the first temptation that hits most leaders, and that is, he thought, I've got to make something happen. I've got to do something. You see, instead of patiently waiting for Samuel to get there, patiently waiting upon God, he decided, I've got to make this happen. So he went ahead with all the sacrifices and everything before Samuel got there. And Samuel arrived right after he gets done, rebuked him for it, because Saul was beginning to do the thing that would ultimately ruin him as a leader. He began to take it upon himself to make things happen. This is a temptation that is so easy to fall into as a leader because you feel the weight of responsibility already. And so when things are not going well, you can't wait. You can't wait for God. You can't look to the Lord to fix these problems. You've got to make it happen. You have to take responsibility. Come up with a plan. Take action. You've got to do it. Well, that's what Saul begins to do here. This is going to lead to the further downfall of his leadership, because he is a leader who has to lead people to follow God. So he has to follow God himself. But instead of that, he more and more takes on the responsibility to say, I'll be the one who makes the plan. I'll be the one then who takes the credit. I'll be the one in charge. And this will lead him to be disobedient to God, to fail to actually maintain in his own life a walk following after the Lord. You and I have to be on our guard all along the way in our lives, whether you're a leader in business or in your home or in the church. The real measure of our success as followers of Jesus is whether or not we follow him and help others to follow after him as well. Don't sacrifice that for any other measure of success. May God bless you, and as you share his good news, may God make you a blessing wherever he takes you.